So next, Heidi, you want to come on up? Annie Berman and company find amazing things. Last week we had cyborgs with a camera in the head and an earthquake sensor in the arm. I'm not trying to make you beat that. Heidi Boisvert, you're here to show us some neat technology that you're working on. Why don't you describe it first?
Sure. It's a bio-creative instrument. We're calling it the world's first. And basically what it does is it takes different type of somatic information, so your muscle contracting, your blood flow, your body temperature, even your heartbeat, actually, as well as spatial information, IMU data, so accelerometer, gyroscope, and magnetometer, so orientation in space, speed, and force, and these sorts of things. And what actually happens is the data is amplified inside the hardware, and then features are extracted from that data, and then those features can be mapped to musical parameters or visual parameters or even the Unity game engine for VR and various things.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you're going to demonstrate, or?
I guess we could. If we turn the sound on, we just made a very simple musical one, so you can kind of understand what's musical notes. Oh, except now that's just the muscle sound. So actually, if you look at the screen here,
right.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, what you have is the muscles, all of those waves there, the muscles, and then you have the different data sets above the temperature. And it generally takes very subtle movements from my muscle patterns here, even the subtlety of your fingers being articulated. And you're also hearing a little bit of the raw muscle sound there.
Can you get so controlled that you can play a song?
Yes, so basically what happens is, you have different types of software that it interfaces with. Maybe take the sound off. So basically what happens... Oh.
It won't go away.
So basically what happens is you can... it's currently been developed in PD, which is everything is open source hardware and software, as well as the design file. And then what happens is we have native plugins for different types of things like Unity or Ableton Live, Max MSP, Python, and processing, so visual generative systems. And so those live natively. And then we also are building out an API in C that would enable other people to build their own application. So that's basically what you saw there was just the PD that we're transitioning from.
So who is your ideal or target user? Who do you see being sort of maybe the early wave of people to begin utilizing this information in the technology? And then what do you see as being kind of like the future?
Right. So I think for us, it's really creators and developers. So creators, meaning it could be DJs, choreographers, musicians who live sample, animators. Actually, I'm working on a new dance piece with an animator who's using open frameworks for live drawing applications. And then it can be used as a musical instrument to live sample. So
did we have Heidi? Do we have some other videos? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So and then we also have a VR example as well. So it's basically using muscle dynamics and as well as motion patterns to generate the visuals.
So tell us what we're watching here.
Yeah. So basically, what's happening here is it's tracking the user's position in space, the avatar, as well as the force of that punch. And then here, he's using it basically to live draw using both the muscle sounds as well as the motion data. So he's using his wrists primarily there. And then the first one, she was live sampling her cello music as well, using her muscle dynamics and the motion of the bowing. And so essentially it becomes almost like a musical companion. She could have a whole symphony. So when you had asked the questions about what's happening there, I mean, basically with the sound, you can create in Max MSP, you could create your own composition, and you're just really mapping those data sets to create different types of pitch or rhythm or timbre structures.
Is this a company?
Yes, so my collaborator Marco Donnarumma and I started a company 3 years ago called Xth, and the idea was to create more bio-creative instruments. Basically, we're really exploring a more organic relationship between human and technology because we realize that, there's lots of data out there that we can track, like with Fitbits and things. But the body itself is much more than data. It's vibration, it's physical, you can touch it. And I think part of the issue is that we've become so accustomed to sort of, a data-driven ecology that's focused on cognitive efficiency, and we're really losing contact with our bodies and our affect and our senses and one another. So what we're trying to do is actually create some sort of organic experience where we can reconnect with our bodies again through attunement.
Is there an exercise use? Is there a way that you get to know your body better and how it's performing otherwise? In weightlifting or running or anything else?
There have been several people have reached out both for kind of muscles as well as your gait, as well as looking at muscular dystrophy, because Marco's research actually was really looking at kind of the muscle pattern. So basically the secret of the Xth Sense is an MMG microphone. It's really, what you're hearing is the sound of your body. And then that's being used to translate these other things. So it could be used in those purposes, but we really want to move away from a data, kind of biodata, to biomedia, right? To start a new discourse, almost a new medium of expression.
Right.
So we're really focused on the kind of creative
I like
aspects.
that a lot. I have a stupid confession to make. When I bought my first iPad, I packed it up and sent it back, because I thought, so I guessed wrong, but I thought it was too much about consumption, not enough about creation.
Right.
And too much technology is being used, and we in media do this because we think that we know all and tell all. It's about consumption. So what I love about what you're doing here is that it makes it about creation.
Yes.
Brings that out.
Yeah. Who would be like an ideal partner or a use for you guys, like a use case, like the symphony or the opera?
Right. Yeah, we just did a project with DJ Spooky.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and also Kenji Williams used it for a new piece also to translate kind of the 3D objects in space, which also has like a larger symphony. But I do think it could even be used in kind of live events. So you have a bunch of people who are wearing them, and then the DJ could actually sample the body data live. So that could be an instance. You could also use it in a symphony setting, I would say, as sort of musical companion. So you'd have one layer of sound, and then you could overlay the biological as a digital
What about
composition.
visual cue too? Is we had a company in here a few weeks ago on the show with different lights throughout a stadium.
Right.
How you could do that. I mean, it
You can
strikes me that
actually
you could
do that as well. You
right?
could control lights. Yeah, Philips actually had reached out to us a while ago to kind of use it in a concert environment as kind of a promotional thing. So you could definitely control a lighting system. In fact, Marco, my partner, has done that with his own performances. He controls lights. Yeah.
So you're speaking of some partners that are more sort of purely creative, and some like Philips that are clearly businesses. So of course, my question I learned well from Jeff is how do you make money? How do you keep this afloat? How do you continue to update the technology? And
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, we have a business model. We have a couple of different approaches. So we have the device. As I said, everything is open source hardware, software, and design, and we're really interested in sharing knowledge. And so we're building out. So we have the device itself, but we also have the software suite, which I said is kind of plug-and-play software API, as well as the various plugins. And then there's a environment that we're building out. We're calling that the ecosystem, where people could actually share code and these sorts of things. And the idea is to bring creatives and developers together, so developers could use their skills and sell their services, and creatives who may have a theater company or something of this nature but don't necessarily have the technical skills could actually find each other, and there's a revenue model within
So you did
that.
a Kickstarter campaign.
We did, yeah.
What was that? How was the Kickstarter experience?
So I think, well, we learned a lot. We raised 50,000 roughly, but we were seeking 80.
Does that mean it was the Kickstarter model you couldn't get anything?
Correct.
So if you'd done Indiegogo, you could have still got the money, but in this case, you have a bar.
We chose that ambitious goal because we actually need, when you're doing hardware in terms of
Yes.
volume manufacturing, we actually need to sell 500 units in order to basically maintain the cash flow that we needed.
So what's next there?
So we're trying a couple of avenues now. So we're applying to a bunch of different accelerators, and we're probably going to kickstart again. And I think part of the issue there is, I think part of what we're trying to do is to discover who our target audience is in terms of who can pay the price point, right, in terms of creatives. And secondly, I would say in terms of garnering the proper press that we needed to amplify. So basically we raised 50,000 within our own personal networks, which is, I think, still quite a substantial amount.
It is.
definitely.
That's the key to
So,
Kickstarter. All these things is you need your own tribe.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and need to bring
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So
and we're also looking for investors as
okay.
well. So we're kind of trying 3 different streams now. And-
Xth Sense.
Yes.
It's not easy to say.
Correct.
I also messed up
So
your
like
name. It's
ex-
Boisvert,
exponential.
Yes?
Yes.
I messed up your name earlier. It's Heidi Boisvert. Yes,
Yes,
correct.
correct.
I
Yeah.
put an S in there. It was like Illinois.
Yeah.
And so people should look up you where? To be able to invest.
X.io.
X.io.
XTH.io. So
It's hard to say. And how did you come to this?
So it was a couple different strands. So Marco Donnarumma, who's my collaborator, he actually built the first one, which was a wired device, actually, and he created it as his own musical instrument and performed with that. And then he and I met at a workshop because I was actually using EEGs. I'm a game designer primarily. And so I was using EEGs, and I found the data wasn't granular enough. And I started working on a dance piece, and I wanted to put this on dancers. So I reached out and asked if I could use a schematic to create a wireless network, essentially. And so we ended up applying to funds together and got funds for 2 years through Rockefeller, both for the dance piece and then for a second year funding to actually take the wireless network that we built for the dance piece, which was like super heavy with Arduinos, and it was still quite bulky, to create this very simple device, which has a very small USB receiver now. So we used the second year to basically move from kind of the stage to the market,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Not that you asked for it, but I think it sounds like as part of fundraising, you're talking about your target user. I feel like schools could be interesting.
Yes, we actually have an
Universities and-
EduPack. And there are actually quite a few. We discovered there was this fellow who reached out to us at the University of Denver, Timothy Weaver, and they created a whole biomedia program based on the original sensor that Marco had developed, and we didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
So we've constructed we have an EduPack, which actually comes with creative coding materials as well as different types of other tutorials, essentially to run your own biohacking workshops. So that is a very key target.
It's kind
for
of
us.
you may not like this characterization, but it's kind of the human theremin. You know,
Yeah.
but that idea of movement and space creating something,
Right.
and now it's your own body being involved, and it's really very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck, and thank you so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
for coming in.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Take
Thanks
care.
for having
Thank you,
us.
Andy.
Nice meeting you.
Bye.